Hi, how you doing? I hope you're good. I hope you're great because I am. Welcome to the Inner Circle. And if you don't know me, my name is Nahya and this is a Divine Embodied, where we talk about spiritual healing, self-development, and how to live as our most divine selves. And if you want to dive deeper into these things, this is the place. And you can join the Inner Circle by subscribing here and follow me on my Instagram at the Divine Embodied for a day-to-day look at how the healing actually looks in practice. So these past weeks, I've been struggling with really getting to the bottom of what my perspective that I want to share looks like in my content, what my point of view looks like in content form. Because there's so many formulas out there and there's so many people trying to guide you and share their blueprints to successful content. But the most difficult part isn't following somebody else's instructions, it's applying your unique point of view to those formulas. Look who decided to show up. Say hi to the camera, Chino. But as I was saying, just because you have a vision in your mind, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna translate the same way physically. And that's exactly what brought me here today. Those moments where you're really struggling with the execution of your creative ideas or those creative blocks. And today I'm gonna talk about my personal strategies to get through them. I'm gonna take you through 6 strategies that I personally apply when I'm in situations of dealing with a creative block, a couple of which I am ironically doing right now. So keep an eye out for number 4 and 6 to know more about that. So a creative block can be described as an overwhelming feeling of being stuck in a creative process and unable to move forward or to create something new. And anybody who has ever participated in any creative venture can attest to having dealt with at least a handful of creative blocks. In my childhood, I used to join a lot of after-school activities, from lots of sports to different art forms, but I never used to stay for very long because I just, after a while, didn't have anybody to take me to the places. So the result of that, years later, was a crazy amount of creative interests and hobbies that I can never take to completion, or I can never exactly master them. They end up being left unfinished, mostly because whenever I run into creative blocks, I have so many other alternatives to choose from that I just end up not picking back up a lot of stuff. I have some creative interests where I've been stuck for months or even years, such as my pole dancing or my guitar and songwriting, but others that are more relevant to my day-to-day, at least in this point in life, like creating content or journaling or learning new cooking skills. I'm usually quicker at getting through that stagnation. The strategies I'm about to give you can apply to any of these situations or any other situation in which you need to get through a creative block or a mental block. So, number 1, give yourself some rest, please, for the love of God. This is a hill I will die on. You cannot bully yourself into creating, performing, or doing anything else for that matter better than you were doing before. If you're feeling overwhelmed, your body is already asking for a breather. If you keep pushing it, you're taking it to the point of raising the white flag of surrender, also known as burnout. And that is way harder to move past than the feeling of overwhelm you were initially feeling. Acknowledge you're feeling overwhelmed. That's completely fine. And it's also completely fine to give yourself some rest, even if it's just for a day. The world won't stop spinning just because you gave yourself some rest. And opportunities that are meant for you won't pass you by because you took care of your mental well-being. Don't let that scarcity mentality push you to burnout because you're afraid there isn't enough space for everyone to thrive within their own timeline. Your space is yours alone because no one will ever be you. Number 2, Understand what is making you feel overwhelmed. Is it the pressure to create? Is it the pressure to meet a certain standard that is expected of you or that maybe you expect of yourself? Have you developed an identity that is tied to creating? Oftentimes, for me at least, the source of overwhelm is tied to an expectation, whether it's one I have towards myself or one that I perceive others to have towards me. But once you understand and identify what that expectation is, it's much easier to affirm to yourself that you can be a person individual of your creation. You can be an artist even if you're not currently making art, whether it's public or private. You can be a creative even if you're not currently pursuing anything creative in this moment. You're allowed to exist just as your own person, and your worth isn't measured by how much you put out. There's really no need to exist in this state of despair over the lack of progress, or at least over the lack of visible progress. Because once you understand that stagnation is just another part of evolution, you'll understand that your creative block is progress. It's an opportunity for you to innovate and to see things through a different perspective. Number 3, take a step back and pivot. Speaking of different perspectives, once you realize that stagnation is an opportunity to broaden your horizons, you can look back at your previous progress up to this point and choose any point in that line that you have already become comfortable with and that you already know, and then you can find a way to pivot from there. For instance, I usually like reconnecting with the basics of whatever skill it is that I'm trying to get through a creative block in, the foundation of whatever it is that I'm trying to build a new path in. And what that allows me to do is combine my new set of eyes and perspective with that experience that I already have. And usually the result of combining these two is making a lot more progress. The key here is letting go of that ego fear of taking steps back. Letting go of that idea that going back means failure and that is something shameful. Sometimes going back can be so helpful, even if you're not in a situation of stagnation or a creative block, because you can never underestimate the benefits of having a solid foundation. Without a foundation, you can't possibly continue building up. So you should never feel bad for wanting or needing to revisit your basics, your foundation, and where you once started. Number 4, don't think too much about it. Lately, my content has been feeling a little bit stagnant. And while I was beating myself up, trying to figure out where and with what type of content I perform better, I just decided to stop. I went through steps 1 to 3, gave myself some space, realized I was feeling overwhelmed because of my own expectations to perform, and decided to trace back my steps to where I was feeling more connected to my own content, which was when I was scripting and making YouTube videos. After that, I didn't let myself think too much because I was aware that I was already in not such a great mood. So I just sat down and I wrote scripts for a couple videos just based on what I was feeling and what I wanted to share and what I knew personally that other people could resonate with because they're shared struggles. The key here was that I didn't intellectualize my actions too much. I just allowed myself to go off where I was already comfortable, which didn't require a lot of innovative thinking. But the magic here is that once you allow your brain to roam free, those blocks start slowly lifting. Number 5, don't expect yourself to ever be where you have once been in the past. This is another big factor to keeping that momentum of lifting the block, allowing yourself to rediscover what creating looks like to you. Your standard of a good creation can't be centered around a version of your creations of the past, because the version of you created those doesn't exist anymore. You have now undergone a new set of challenges and experiences. You have a different perspective, even if you don't mentally realize it. So you can never go back. You can only draw inspiration from your experiences. So you can go back and pivot, like in step 3, but you can't recreate your same old process step by step. And just like in step 4, you need to free your mind a little bit from the thinking. And just like in step 4, you need to free your mind a little bit from the thinking, because that is the only way in which you will allow your creativity to roam free. And then last but not least, number 6, once you allow yourself the space to relearn your creative process, allow yourself to grow as a creative and just embrace the curiosity of finding out what your new creative process will look like. I promise you'll be able to adjust. This is the second step that I said that I was doing right now in this video. I just allowed myself the freedom to write about my experiences, my feelings, whatever was coming to mind, really. I didn't expect myself to follow any sort of process that I had followed in the past, and I didn't close myself off to any new thought or creative processes. Sometimes I needed a break, so I took one. And then when I returned, it was for the pure curiosity of knowing what my mind and spirit had to say, what it wanted to express. And that allowed me to keep making progress. So those are the 6 strategies I normally use when I'm dealing with a creative block. Sometimes I use all of them. Sometimes it's just one. Sometimes it's a combination of one and another. It really depends on the situation. What these have done for me are relieve me from the overwhelming feeling of stagnation, relieve me from the pressure and expectations, and allow me to be free to keep creating in a more intuitive way. And I just hope they can do the same for you. So let me know in the comments if you've ever dealt with a creative block. If so, how you deal with them, and which one of these 6 strategies you would give a try. Thank you for being here, and don't forget to subscribe and follow my Instagram to join the inner circle. I'll see you guys in the next one.